Hello, everyone. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Miss Valentina Olano. She is actually a graduate from Nova Southeastern University, and she majored in journalism. She's currently a communications director for a nonprofit organization known as FCC, or Fútbol con Corazón. Welcome, Miss Valentina. It's a pleasure to have you.
The pleasure is all mine.
Now, before I proceed, I would just like to inform you that this interview will be on record. Is that okay with you?
Yes, of course.
Excellent. Let's move on then, shall we? I'd like to initiate with this question. Are you currently active on any sort of social media platform?
Yes, I am.
And of those, which might they be?
It would be Instagram and TikTok.
And for how long have you been on those platforms?
So I think for Instagram, since it launched, so 2010, that's about 12 years. And then with TikTok, very recently, just about a year.
Okay. And if you could give me an estimate of approximately how many hours daily you spend on those platforms?
Yeah, so I think for personal use, Instagram, I'd say 1 to 2 hours. It depends. And for work, a little more than that. But TikTok, also another 1 or 2 hours.
So like in total 4 hours a day for personal use?
Yeah.
And what is it that you use Instagram for work?
So because I'm the communications director for our organization, I am expected to post 3 times a week. And on top of that, just staying up to date with our audience, how to communicate with them, and also just looking at other organizations and how they're branding and marketing themselves.
So no matter what, you have to be on social media.
Yeah, definitely.
So how would you feel or react if suddenly and abruptly all form of social media was just completely revoked from your life?
I think abruptly is a great word to use because it invokes shock. I think it would be shocking just because that's not only really part of my job, also for personal use, it's how I keep up with friends and family that are far. And then also it's a huge part of how I get my news. I know that's very true for our generation, and we depend greatly on social media posts from news outlets. So really it's become a part of our lifestyle.
Yeah, it certainly has become essential to our daily lives. So have you ever experienced moments where the actual state of your emotions is affected or impacted by something you may see on social media, or maybe even something you don't see?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, I think we talk a lot about beauty standards when it comes to social media because we're just bombarded with images of women who have bodies that not a lot of other women do, and they conform definitely to the beauty standards that our society has set. And I think we forget how often and how much we see of it on social media. And it's definitely difficult. There's no way that you're not comparing yourself when you're looking at these images. So it definitely affects, how we feel.
Absolutely, and I would testify that on a male perspective as well. It's just you're forced to live up to sometimes an unrealistic expectation.
Exactly.
Well, Mrs. Valentina, it's been a pleasure to have you. I really do appreciate your input. It's very meaningful to our research, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, today I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Sebastian Benitez. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you guys for reaching out.
The pleasure's all mine, man. Mr. Benitez actually studied at Broward College for 2 years, acquiring his Associate of Arts degree in marketing to later continue his studies at the University of Southern California, getting a bachelor's degree in marketing. Presently, he is a marketing manager at Midtown Athletic Club in Weston, Florida. I do appreciate you being here, Mr. Benitez, and giving your input on this topic. Now, before I move on, I would just like to state this interview will go on record and be published. Do we have your permission to do so?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Now let's move on. I would like to initiate with this question. Are you currently active on any sort of social media platform? And if so, which ones?
I'm active at the moment on Instagram and Twitter.
And for how long have you been on those platforms?
Instagram, I would say since middle school, so around the age of 12, 13. So that's about maybe 10, 9 years ago. I'm 22 at the moment. And Twitter since freshman year of high school, which was back in 2015, so about 7 years ago.
Wow, long time on both.
Yes, sir.
And if I were to ask you to give me an estimate of approximately how many hours daily you spend on those platforms, what would that number be looking like?
I would say about 4 to 5 hours throughout the day, and sometimes even more at night. Sometimes it's hard for me to go to sleep at times, so I go through this like whole loophole of just going through my feed, going on different social media platforms, and just kind of get distracted or trying to fall asleep. You know,
Like mindlessly scrolling?
correct.
Okay, so if I were to ask you, how would you feel or react if suddenly and abruptly all social media was revoked from your life?
I would feel happy, but at the same time, I would feel a little bit weird, and it would be very strange to me because it's been something that's been part of our lives for the past, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 years.
So we've gotten so accustomed to it.
Correct.
Okay, and have you ever experienced moments where the state of your emotions is actually affected by something you may see or not see on social media?
Yes. Let's say sometimes I look at social media events, or maybe even events in general, that like a trip that my family went on, distant family obviously, that they went on, and I was invited or I wasn't invited, and I feel left out. So
Fear of missing out?
Fear of missing out, FOMO. Also, last year I went through a heartbreak, which affected my mental health in general. And going on social media, you would think it would make it better, but no, it made it worse. I would see couples or influencers post, to say the least, like their honeymoons, or maybe even just simply like photos of them being together and just showing like love and happiness and excitement of just being in a relationship, and it really rubbed me off the wrong way.
Okay. Well, Mr. Benitez, this interview has been brief but very meaningful to our research. I would really like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, and I really do appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
Good morning, world. Today I have with me special guest, Mrs. Isabela Jaramillo. She is actually a Broward College alumna who graduated and majored with a bachelor's in supervision and management, and is currently working as a technical recruiter for a higher education company known by the name of 2U. Thank you, Isa, for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. And before we proceed, I just want to state that this interview will be recorded and published. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So let's get on with it, shall we? I would like to initiate with this question. Are you currently on any form of social media platforms?
So currently on one, and that is Twitter. I've actually been on for a couple of weeks now, because initially I had taken a social media break, and that was about almost 6 months ago.
Wow. And what led you to take that break from social media?
Social media was actually taking a toll on my mental health, and also affecting a little bit on my productivity levels when it came down to school, work, and just personal life in general.
Completely understandable. And now, when you say it was taking a toll on your mental health, what exactly do you mean by that? In what area are you referring to?
So I felt like I was being more anxious than usual. I caught myself just with a lot of anxiety. So that would be
Anxiety, like when you weren't on it and you would use the social media as kind of like an escape from reality, would you say?
Yeah, that would be it.
And have you ever experienced moments where the actual state of your emotions is affected by things you may see on social media or not see?
Yeah, I feel like there were a couple of areas where my emotional well-being was affected. And I think it was more because of things that I would see on people that were my friends. That would take a lot of my, toll on that emotional state, just because of wanting to be doing the same things that they were doing that probably I couldn't at the time because of work and school.
Right. Well, Miss Isa, I really do appreciate you taking the time to share your input on this topic. It's a very brief interview, but it is very valuable to our research. I wish you the best, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye-bye now.
Bye.